Welcome back, everybody, to 10 Questions With, powered by Honda Draft Edition. Today, we're really excited to have the general manager of the Toronto Blue Jays, Ross Atkins, here to join us. Ross is going to talk to us about this year's draft, past drafts, and actually being drafted himself. So we're really excited to have him. Ross, thanks for joining us, man.
Hey, TJ, good to see you. Great to be here today.
All right, man. Well, we're going to get right into it with the first question. What are your roles and responsibilities for the draft as general manager? Can you kind of take us through the lead up to a typical draft day?
Yeah, it's interesting. I think I've been fortunate to have been involved in so many drafts, even though I was working in player development. For my first year in the office, it was an all hands on deck approach with the Cleveland Indians, where I was working, and for roughly 20 days, we would all go into the same room every day for anywhere from 10 to 14 hours a day and talk about the 800 players and get them in some semblance of an order. And every year, that process got better. And every year that I've been involved in a draft, that process has continued to improve, has continued to get more efficient. And that's where my focus is. My focus is on, one, like, are we using a good process? Does it feel like we are being objective? Does it feel like we're being collaborative? Does it feel like we're factoring in all the right information in the right way and weighting it appropriately? And then are we doing that respectfully? So if your organization does have good values, then that's a really good starting point, because you can just use those. And ours, I'm constantly thinking about as we go through the process. And to give you an example of something like that might happen, it happens on a daily basis, where if you're talking about 800 players, and this year we're talking about less because of the situation we're in, there's fatigue. And if your process suffers, and if it just falls on one person just making a call because we're tired at the end of the day, that's less than ideal. So that's where a lot of my energy goes. I think secondarily, I focus on pitching just because I'm passionate about it, and I gravitate to help there in that area more, but certainly not making decisions for Shane and Tony, but just asking questions and trying to ask the group questions that will help us get to hopefully a better place as we put guys up on a board. And it's fascinating to me to think about how involved the process is and how much time and energy that goes into it. We don't seem to find ways to do it with less time. We just seem to find ways to do it more efficiently, and hopefully that's just making us better every year.
Absolutely, man. Second question. In your opinion, what has been the single biggest challenge this year with COVID-19 and the draft?
Yeah, it's won't be surprised to hear the answer. It's just not having the face-to-face. So we have breakout rooms, we have meetings before and after every meeting to discuss our strategy in the meeting, to discuss what we learned, what follow-ups are necessary, but ultimately not having, hey, let's just walk to lunch and take a break as we talk about this, or let's go grab a cup of coffee, or hey, the group's having dinner tonight, we're going to walk down here and continue the dialogue in a less formal way, is definitely missing. And we're trying to offset that and trying to counter for that, but that's obviously very difficult. But, then there's the obvious things, like we just didn't have as many scout looks and as much time with the players that we would normally have. And so that impacts your process in a big way when you're accustomed to having a certain amount of information and all of a sudden you have less. How you're weighting certain things that were intuitive, you're having to adjust.
Yeah, no doubt, man. Third question. Obviously, no team strives to be picking where we're picking this year, but talk to us about the excitement and the amazing opportunity we're in picking fifth this year.
Yeah, it is. Like you said it well. Like there's always that feeling that you don't want to be here again. And at the same time, when you are, the caliber of talent that you're talking about is exciting. It's very, very difficult to not be excited about the caliber of players. And once you get 10, 15 deep into the draft, it's amazing how the conversation shifts. and you're talking about things that are seemingly more critical more often. And at this level of draft, and confident to say that we feel that way this year, we're going to get a very good player.
Awesome, man. Next question. Bo Bichette, Kevin Biggio, guys that have been drafted while you've been in charge. Talk to us about, it kind of seems like all these players have a lot of the same characteristics. Talk to us a little bit about what are the characteristics the Blue Jays look for in a player when they're drafting them.
Yeah, we believe so much in area scouts, and area scouts having relationships and conviction and being able to answer all of the questions that are being asked, or at least when they don't have an answer, having an avenue to potentially go get that question answered. And Nate Pearson's another example of that, where, you as a scout, you are in some ways painting a picture for the rest of the room, for everyone to understand what the potential is, and where the shortcomings might be, or what the derailers might be. And the better you understand the picture, the easier it is to get excited about that player. So in the cases of Bo and Kevin and Nate Pearson, we knew the player, not just the area scout. Of course, the area scout did, because he was able to paint that picture for us, but it crystallized in our room. And a huge part of it was drive, work ethic, and just the pure passion for excellence in baseball. So, it's easy to see when those things, or not easy, but when it is easy to see, that's when we get excited. And in those cases, in Kevin's case and Bo's case, and Nate was another great example, it was just, the picture was painted so well by the area scouts, and we had such a good understanding of what motivated them, how much they cared about baseball, how much they cared about being great, what they thought of competition, and how they embraced it. And when that added up with our scout looks on talent, and then we looked into the performance and used track records to understand where they should be on their board, all three of those players moved up significantly the more we talked about them. And it's not one thing, but when it is being able to paint the whole picture and not seeing too many holes, or just knowing exactly what the shortcomings might be and not having to guess on those things. So, I can't say enough about our area scouts. Really, like, throughout the industry, I can't imagine separating yourself without them. It's such a pivotal piece, because I think if you were to talk to Bo and talk to his dad about the process that our area scout, Matt Bischoff, had with him, it would probably be a very good interview. And it's a massive part of, it's a massive strength of ours in our organization, I feel. And that, Tony LaCava has done an incredible job of creating an environment that scouts want to be in. And, Steve Sanders continued that, and Shane Farrell has continued that. And there was a lot of work done before we were here that has fostered an incredible environment that really values scouts and really values the work that they do. And that has really made a big difference for us.
Awesome, man. Last question. You yourself were drafted out of Wake Forest. Talk to us about how that felt. Where were you? How did you find out? What were those emotions? What did that day really mean to you and your family?
Yeah, well, so I wasn't expecting to be drafted. I thought there was maybe some chance I would be. I was drafted in the 69th round the year before by the Florida Marlins, which before they made the draft smaller. And so I thought there was some chance that I would be drafted out my senior year. But in 1995, we didn't have near the same coverage. We only had Baseball America, which was just one publication that came out, and we could read that every month. And so knowing the interest level in you, understanding what the industry looked like, what the amateur world looked like, was not as easy. So although I wanted to be drafted, I wasn't certain. I just wasn't expecting it to necessarily be the case. And so I was in summer school at Wake Forest, and I was in a class, and this is pre-cell phone, and my mom was trying to get a hold of me via my roommates, calling my the apartment that I was renting and just couldn't track me down for probably 5 or 6 hours. And then finally I got a message from one of my roommates, your mom's trying to get in touch with you. And my mom was confused by it. She said, I just got a call from the Cleveland Indians. They said they drafted you. You need to call Casey McKeon, and here's his phone number. So I called Casey McKeon, and it's interesting because he drafted that year David Miller in the first round, Sean Casey in the second round, Scott Winchester in the 12th round, I think, Mark Budzinski who's our first base coach now, in the 15th to 20th round, and then me in I think like the 37th. I can't even remember, but way late. And so I asked him, I said, hey, I'm in summer school. Can I have one class to finish, to graduate. Can I just finish this class? No. Well, can you reimburse me for that class that I was taking? No. So you need to be on a flight tomorrow to Watertown, New York, or excuse me, to Winter Haven, Florida. And I said, okay, well, I'll meet you. Where do I meet you? At a McDonald's in Greensboro, North Carolina. I drove to meet him at a McDonald's parking lot and signed the contract right there. And it was, man, I mean, it's an incredible feeling. I could not have been more excited. I mean, just especially not having really expecting it, because I wasn't a standout in college. I was an average college pitcher. And so that was incredibly invigorating, very exciting for my family. And I mean, listen, I don't know. It's those 5 years of my life in minor league baseball were, I mean, just so powerful. The relationships that I built, the things I learned about myself, the maturity that happened, the opportunity in general, and then to had a, you know, I never really, performed exceptionally well, but just had a lot of fun performing a couple of year leagues and pitched for parts of 5, and I can remember almost every day of it. So incredible experience that I'm very glad that I had.
That's awesome, man. Hey, we really appreciate you joining us. Best of luck in the draft. We'll be watching, and we appreciate your leadership and everything you do for the organization. And, again, thanks for joining us, man.
All right, TJ. Thanks for having me on. Thanks, guys.